the first time he talks. So he speaks up. Do you know what I hate most about humans? Nature, war, God. You think you can control it all. I don't know what's larger, your arrogance or your stupidity.
Megatron over here spitting facts.
Spitting facts.
Yeah.
Stands up and fucking just like all the wires he was hooked up to, he just stands up and picks up Lazarus and, yeah.
I am unbothered by all the greedy men dying.
No.
That part...
Lazarus was made to hate, and like, at this point, you're almost rooting for Megatron. You're like, crush his face, crush his face. Welcome to Comic Dissection. I am one of your hosts, Reno Dino Valentino. And directly next to me is my wonderful co-host, Cecilia Rose. How are you, Cecilia?
I am here.
Yeah, you are. That's what we want from our podcast host. Presence. Yes. And today on Comic Dissection, I'm so excited because we're going to talk about an 80s powerhouse. It was a toy franchise. It was a cartoon franchise. It was a comic book franchise. It existed both here and in Japan. And, yeah, it's lovingly called Transformers.
In other words, it's also called Revenge for having to read 2 Sailor V volumes.
It's just nostalgia. It's got nothing to do with revenge. Just, I want to get all the nostalgia out of the way in the early episodes. So, we can go off the beaten path later. But, yeah. Cecilia, what do you know about Transformers? Like, where does your knowledge exist in this realm?
I know about the Michael Bay movies.
Okay. Gross.
Yeah.
So you've heard names like Optimus Prime and Megatron
I don't remember any of the shows, but I vaguely recall some of them existing.
Yeah. Well, they had a long lifespan because we're going to talk the comic we're going to talk about now is from DreamWorks, and it was from 2002. So, 20 years ago.
No,
but
God.
It's talking about Gen 1, which was in the 1980s.
Yeah.
So, 40 years ago. But Transformers, even to this day, there is a Netflix Transformers show that I think just wrapped up.
Yeah.
That references the Gen 1 as well as the other iterations. Like, there was Armada, there was Beast Wars. So, Transformers has sort of, like Pokemon or Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Yeah.
Like, it's continued to survive up until modern times. But,
I don't know if there were any cartoons for Transformers when I was growing up.
Yeah.
Or if I just watched, like, the I Love the 80s stuff where they mentioned the not the cartoons,
yes.
the toys and stuff.
Yeah, there's a excellent Toys That Made Us on Transformers as well. Speaking of Netflix, we do a lot of plugs for them. But, yeah.
Yeah. It's fair. I mean, honestly, where else do you watch TV at this point in time?
It's true. It'd be really weird if they're like, there's this great Fox show. Yeah, no. Everything, the internet is all. But, yeah, it was a huge powerhouse. A lot of the Transformers actual robots were taken from other toy lines in Japan, and then just like, this guy kind of looks like this other guy. Like there was
relatable enough.
Yeah, there was a anime called I think it's called Robotech, and so they took one of the robots from Robotech. I'm like, this is Jetfire, the Transformer, whereas their resemblance, if you see him in the cartoon, not very similar.
Nah.
Yeah. But he was one of the coolest Transformers because he was from a different line and he looked awesome. Yes. So yeah, it was a huge part of my childhood. Like, I was a Transformer, G.I. Joe, He-Man kid, I was born in 79, so the 80s was my childhood. So of course, today we're doing the Transformers Generation 1 graphic novel by Lee and Saraceni, Volume 1. Like I said, I was born in 2002. Yeah, without further ado, I just want to jump right in.
Go for it.
Yeah, so our story opens with some folks trudging through the snow. one of them is bitching to the other about how he doesn't understand the need for all this secrecy, and it's kind of a pain in the
everything
ass.
survives best when you just tell everyone your plans up front.
He's like, yeah, we got to crawl through the Arctic because, secrets. But yeah, he's being dragged along by a mysterious figure.
Calls himself Lazarus.
Yeah, Lazarus, because he's bringing people back from the dead. In this case, magical robots.
Lazarus, the fact that this is in the Arctic would automatically cancel me out from being interested in this whatsoever. There's entirely too much snow, and I don't like the snow or the cold enough for any of this. This would not...
Well, you're not a despot trying to militarily take over a region.
This is also true.
Doesn't want you there.
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I could not be bothered.
Fair enough.
The premise killed me. This is to start with. We're going to go to the Arctic to dig up robots.
Yeah. So, obviously, this is some sort of military deal. This guy wants to buy a weapon, but he doesn't really even know what he's out there to buy. And then on page question mark, because none of the pages are numbered. So, folks, you'll have to follow along with us because it will be a little difficult. But in the first big splash panel, we see my favorite Transformer of all time, Soundwave, who actually turns into a tape deck, which, man, talk about something from the 80s.
Right?
He spits out cassette tapes that can then turn into other robots. So he has a little army in his chest that he can fire out and shoot at people, which is incredible. I also thought he was a good pick because he's a blue and white robot, and it's a nice contrast to like this glacier that he's stuck in and that he's trying to crawl out of. Like the art style of this first reveal panel is really good. Like
the art for the people is nice, actually. I'm going to level with you here.
Yeah.
Even though I've been reading all of Mao Zedong-Songxi's novels, and all of them have characters that are very much so similar. You got your white guy with like light powers and your black and red guy with like the darker powers.
Yeah.
I had such a hard time telling the robots apart in this.
It's fair.
They all look like shiny blocks.
You need to have the toys with you in your hands. I
understand that there are probably nuances to all these characters, and if you're someone who's loved and grown up and spent a lot of time learning about them, you can probably tell them.
Yes.
But as someone who hasn't, they just looked like shiny block people with different colors. Like, I could not...
They're different shiny blocks.
Whenever you do close-ups, like they got the close-up looks, unless it was Megatron or Prime.
Yeah. You were just guessing.
I would, like... I don't even know if this is a good guy or a bad guy. Like, this is just a person.
Yeah.
Well, not even a person.
Luckily, a lot of them have symbols. That little purple
robot.
symbol on his chest means he's a Decepticon. He's a bad guy. The Autobots have a red symbol, which means they're
which
a good
looks
guy.
very similar to the purple symbol, just so you know. I'm just telling you.
To a layman, maybe.
Exactly. And I am a layman, and I'm just telling you, I had such a hard time trying to figure out who was who.
Understood. I don't hold that against you. One of the reasons I'm really excited to cover this is because I'm wondering how much of it will hit with someone who has no real knowledge of that cartoon. Like, how much of, like, the robot scenes will hit, how much of their big reveals will mean anything to you, not knowing the robots. And as we go on, I think we'll get to see whether this is... Whether it works or not. For someone being... I felt it was kind of a good introduction to Transformers, but again, the Gen 1 comic and cartoon Transformers, but I don't know, because I've got so much Transformer lore in my head. The spots that they don't explain are kind of blind spots to me, because I don't need them to explain it to me.
Because you know it.
Yeah, like, if you know how gravity works...
Well, it's the same thing with, like, Sailor V and me being like, well, this is why this is important.
Yeah.
And this is all these... Because I've got a lot of knowledge. I've spent a lot of energy and time...
You've been there.
In these
You've been in that world. Yeah, exactly. Like, and then there are certain things that you just take for granted. I asked you why everyone was brother and sister, and you didn't know. It's just how it is. It's just kind of a rule of that world. And Transformers, like all... create fantasy worlds have those rules that, like, well, it's just that way because it's that way.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know why. It just am.
It makes sense if you consider this particular aspect of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to make sense outside of that world.
Exactly. Yeah, it's not.
I will say though, I had a hard time kind of caring about some of the second tier robots because I couldn't tell them apart.
Yeah. Yeah, they were just robots. Dude.
Yeah, this is just a blank thing that speaks. I don't know.
Yes.
It's the same thing as like this panel that we're getting ready to go into. Mm-hmm. I understand that this is supposed to be kind of gruesome, and you only spend like 2 pages with these dudes. And then, like, they die.
I don't think you're supposed to care about these guys too much. Yeah, they don't last long. So we cut to a jungle in South America. That's all the details that we get. That's all you need to know. And it's like 3:42 a.m. local time. Mm-hmm. And these 2 guys are talking, and basically one of them's like, you can't light cigarettes. People will be able to see us in the forest, and they'll know we're here. And the other guy's like, I don't give a fuck. I'm also going to take a whiz. So while he's doing that, you see the other guy in the background, and this huge hand just comes out of the shadows and just crushes him.
Yep.
I thought it was very funny.
On the other hand, I think the dude wanting his cigarette, if you're about to die anyway, you might as well not be worried about the lung cancer. Have that cigarette, man.
Yeah.
You were dead anyways. It wasn't going to matter.
Why even worry about it? And then, of course, the guy's like, hey, where are you? Because somehow he did not hear
someone getting crushed.
I liked it because it means these big, huge honking robots can be like super stealthy, and I find it both hilarious. Like it's like in horror movies where the person walks into a room and they look left and they don't see anything, and they sigh, and then the camera pans around and the dude's behind him. Like, if you're looking for a guy and you walk into a room, you look all around the room. You don't not look behind you.
Yeah.
It only works because you're assuming that the camera is their point of view, and that for some reason they just wouldn't look behind them. But they do that in horror movies. It drives me crazy. Well,
I think I read something that was talking about how people in horror movies don't know they're in horror movies. So if you look at it from that, I guess it kind of makes sense.
It sort of does, but even if you were looking for your wallet, you wouldn't just leave half the room unlooked.
No, if you're my children, you absolutely do.
Oh, yes. But
yeah. You absolutely do not look in the place that would be most obvious for something to be.
You just have to think of Michael Myers as a missing set of car keys, and it all makes sense.
Or anything that's like, hey, can you go get this for me, please? Don't know where that's at.
Yeah. Could you get me the milk? It's like, where's the milk? Fridge?
Yeah.
I'm gonna just throw out a gas.
You have to go find a cow for me. I need you to go find a cow.
Could you go milk a cow and get me some delicious milk? So anyway, that guy gets hand squished, and of course the other guy does his typical, Charlie, where are you, Charlie? What's going on?
And then he gets stomped. He gets stomped.
And they give you a little blood on it, and if you are a comic or a Transformer aficionado, you will recognize the hand and the foot. So for you, it's kind of a little bit of
there was so much build up for this.
Yeah.
And it's sort of like the Kamehamehas in Dragon Ball Z, where it's like, look, I know what you're doing.
I know where we're going.
But can we just fucking get there already? I'm annoyed. Let's go. Move it along.
Right. And for me, someone who's like, oh, it's Megatron. Oh, shit. You guys are fucked.
Yeah.
And then the next scene is just showing the forest from a distance, and like there's a huge explosion.
Kaboom.
So, Megatron, or a nameless robot, is fucking shit up.
I just want to point out real quick that we have changed locations 3 times in 10 pages. Mm-hmm. And
now we're somewhere else.
I feel like this is why Michael Bay's movies are like the way they are.
He read this comic.
Yeah. We have changed locations 3 times in 10 pages.
It's true. We're all over the place. Now we're in Cleveland, Ohio. Out of South America. Fuck South America.
Out of Antarctica.
Yeah. And it's like early morning now. And we're meeting a character who has a very funny name. His last name is Witwicky. Spike Witwicky. And he is from the cartoons. He was one of the obnoxious humans that followed the robots around and also had adventures, and the whole time you're like, just get back to the big, huge robots. Like, there's robots that transform into jets. I don't care that this human's hiding behind a rock until Optimus Prime shows up. I do not care. So I will say,
to identify with the human.
I hated it. I hated every cartoon in the 80s and probably beyond, but in the 80s had to have an annoying like character that the kids were supposed to relate to. In He-Man, it was Orko. I guess in G.I. Joe it was Bazooka because he was like the dumb G.I. Joe. It was like a kid.
April for the teenage Ninja Turtles.
Yeah, and it's like, Thundercats had Snarf. His name was Snarf. Ugh. God. She-Ra had like 4 of them. She-Ra had like a little flying fuzzy thing named Cal. Yeah. It had a little chubby witch lady, and then her broom that also was obnoxious. Like, God bless. But yeah, I was never a fan of that.
So you didn't like Spike?
I didn't like Spike then. This Spike I kind of like.
I've just felt bad for the kid. The way that the foreshadowing seemed to be working, I was like, this dude's gonna die. This poor child.
They just showed me a future orphan.
Yeah. This poor child's talking about how much he loves his dad and shit. These dude's dead.
Yeah. Rest in peace.
Yep.
But yeah, I like that he doesn't like or trust the military. I'm down. Yeah. So far.
Yep. General dude was gross. Just from the first page. He was not likable.
Yeah, oh no. And obviously not meant to be when you see what happens later on. Like, this guy's...
I feel like that's a little...
total shit bird.
It's a little lazy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would have liked him to be redeemable in some ways.
Or at least understandable. I don't mind having a villain that you know is wrong.
Yeah.
But still made to be someone whose motivations you can understand.
Yeah.
And that's where, he falls short.
Yeah.
The General falls short.
Yeah. I mean, he's got the same motivation that almost all generals with their hand on the button have. It's like, gotta kill 1,000 to save 1,000,000. Like, it's always the same fucking story. And that... But it is very Transformers-esque. Transformer-esque do not deal in, shades of gray.
Nuance is,
lost. The good guys are ultimate good, and the bad guys are ultimate bad, and...
There's a place for those stories, too.
Yeah, especially, for younger audiences. And,
absolutely.
This is, for the early teen audience, I think. Give them a little blood, but no boobs, because that's where the real corruption comes.
Horniness.
Horniness. Don't... Teenagers. If we can keep them from being horny, we'll have no problems with them. That shouldn't be too hard. But yeah, Spike is basically I'm not interested in this. Transformers suck. Because,
I don't want no part of this.
Yeah, and I think it's here that you find out that his father and the Transformers and the Decepticons were all supposed to leave on the ship together. They were supposed to be fucking gone. But it pulled the Challenger that blew up?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it blew up in space and didn't make it and crashed to Earth, and that was supposedly the end of all of them, including Spike's dad. So he has a little bit of a bitter spot for Transformers and the military and all of this bullshit. He don't want anything to do with it.
He wanted no part, yeah.
Yeah. So he says, if I turn down your offer, and the general says, I'm sorry, Spike, perhaps I should be a little clearer. There is no offer for you to decline because, frankly, I'm not asking. So he kidnaps him. Yeah, kidnaps an American citizen for, government stuff. Why wouldn't you?
Lazarus needs a new intro line.
Yes. Yeah, and Lazarus seems so, in these shots... By the way, we're back in icy Canadian, Arctic here. Somebody else is now being blindfolded and taken to go to see the really super cool robot weapons.
I really like this thing right here where they're talking to Mr. Bishop and they're saying, they call him a terrorist and he says he's a freedom fighter.
Yeah.
What's the difference between a terrorist and a freedom fighter? Marketing, apparently.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Yeah, that really is all of it.
There's a song in Wicked where the wizard's singing, and the wizard, one of the lines is, a man's a crusader or a ruthless invader. It just depends on which label is able to persist.
Absolutely. And this is one of the few real transforming scenes you get of the Transformers.
Yeah.
This scene is kind of repetitive. It's very similar to the first scene where he's taking somebody to show him the weapons and get him prime the engine for the sale, as a salesman would say. But as they get out of the Jeep and they start walking away, you sort of get a scene of the Jeep turning into a robot with his arms crossed.
Yep.
One thing I would have changed about this comic is I'd have a lot more transforming of my Transformers. That's fair. Do a lot of it. And one thing even I noticed is if you're not in the know,
I don't know who that is.
Yeah, they don't do a lot of corrections where you watch a Transformer transform. So if you see Optimus Prime fighting, and later you see a red truck driving down the highway, unless you know that's Optimus Prime, you might not make the connection, even though his chest looks like the front of a truck. Like, if you're not making these connections, then a lot of the transformations are like, was that one of the Transformers or just a dude in a jet plane? I have no idea. So yeah, I didn't get enough transformations for me.
This is where, for me right here, this panel on this page where they just show parts of robots is where it started to get irritating.
Yeah.
Like, they're doing a lot of build-up.
A lot of teasing here.
I don't enjoy it.
Yeah. For someone who is very into the Transformers, I fell very easily into these tease projects. Like I was the
you're the target audience.
I was the target audience. Absolutely.
At this point you haven't seen a robot outside of the one little
one stuck in the ice and then a foot and a hand.
Yeah. And they're just like, everyone's just staring in awe at nothing.
Yeah,
you see nothing.
It's one of the things, like, they used to make this joke all the time on Mystery Science Theater, where you would have the camera on the people looking at something amazing, and they'd be like, "Oh, that's glorious!" And like, hey, could we see? The audience.
I'm sitting here waiting.
I'm also curious, and I'm the audience. Yeah, the comic is doing that tease. I don't think this second scene of bringing someone to that felt like filler to me. I was like, I get it. You're bringing people to the snow. Like, got it.
Yeah. It's just, I know that there are robots there. You're not
the cover
fucking surprising
of the graphic
me.
novel has robots on it.
You're not gonna fucking surprise me with it.
Yeah.
And then and maybe it's also because I was kind of let down with the design of the robots, that like by the time we're seeing everything, it's like this is what all
the hubbub was for. Yes.
I'm
They were sleek designs in the 80s, I'll have you know.
Let me tell you what didn't age well.
No, sleek designs from the 80s?
Yeah.
That's why none of those cars are being made anymore.
Right?
So Spike's waiting to talk to the general, and
Spike should have listened to Larry.
Creepy janitor. Creepy genitalia. No, a creepy janitor tells him, "Be careful. Ain't nothing like it seems in this place. Every word means a little something else, and sometimes nothing at all. There's always more than meets the eye around here." So, more than meets the eye is the tagline for Transformers. So that's a little Easter egg, like, because the
I
theme,
didn't catch that.
Yeah, of course not. The 80s cartoon was Transformers, more than meets the eye.
I thought it was Robots in Disguise.
Transformers, robots in disguise. It had more than one verse. Okay. So yeah, you remember that. But yeah, so Janitor will of course come back into play later, but right now he's just dropping an Easter egg for you, because none of that information means anything.
Yeah.
Like, if you were going into a big meeting and someone's like, "Hey, nothing's what it seems around here,"
also,
would that help you with your meeting at all?
It's also the U.S. military, and then if you've got half a brain cell, you should already know not to trust it.
That's also true, yeah. Although this is comic book military, so they're not as nasty as...
I don't know, I feel like the general...
He is, but some of the... That's one of the things this thing does, is it's kind of like, it wants you to know that their war is justified. Like, they do a lot to distinguish Megatron's war from Optimus Prime's war, and how they differential. And we'll definitely talk about that when we get there, because there's a you could crack open a bottle of wine with the conversation for that one. That one's
I just want to point out real quick that Spike's brother's name is Buster. And I want to know who the fuck named these kids. If they were Buffy fans. What is this?
They were all named after Mega Man weapons. Yeah, I don't know. Like
Spike and Buster.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know.
That was not... I don't understand. Like I said, are they Buffy fans? Why are you naming your children after the noises in comic books.
Yeah. Boom Bam was my younger sister. She's married now. Changed her last name. No longer a Witwicky.
Changed her whole name.
Also changed her first name. Which I get, Boom Bam.
Yeah.
You always be Boom Bam Witwicky to me, though. So yeah, and then here's the Megatron reveal if you didn't recognize the foot. And he's freaking out because he knows Megatron's the leader of the Decepticons, the bad guys in this world. And his eyes are getting wide, and he's like, oh no. They do a nice transition of, like, the camera zooms in on Megatron from the footage, and that's in South America. And then they cut to Megatron at the, what would you call it, the trade show? Where they're
the auction.
The weapons auction.
Yeah.
And I fucking love this part because it's your typical scene. It's the scene in Jurassic Park where they tried to make the dinosaurs work for the government.
Yeah,
it's the fucking scene from every Godzilla movie where they capture the big monster and they're like, now we're going to use it as a military weapon. We figured out a way to control it. So it's this wonderful scene where he's like,
yep.
Oh, raise your left arm, raise your right arm. See, the robot's completely under my control. And then he says, Subject 6. They don't even get names. It's fucked up. Subject 6.
They're robots.
Yeah. They're robots with souls. Subject 6. Kneel before me. Subject 6. I repeat, kneel before me. Minor wrinkles, all part of the learning progress. All of the people rewire this one. No need for concern. It's just
giant killing machines shouldn't have wrinkles. I'm just gonna say
it's a minor wrinkle.
I don't care how minor the wrinkle is. Giant killing machines should not have wrinkles.
Yeah, I love that he wouldn't kneel though. That just, I was like, oh, you guys are fucked. As soon as he wouldn't kneel, I was like, you guys are so fucked.
This is going to end poorly for y'all.
And so then they shut the lights out to go, look at the other models, and like his eyes light up. And, if you needed a clue, we cut back to the military base. And basically he's like, oh, you found one of the Transformers? Which one? And of course it's fucking Optimus Prime.
Yeah.
It's the Kingfish. Because, you can't have Megatron without Optimus. Like, can't have Batman without the Joker, or other good guy without other bad guy. You just can't do it.
So I read this whole little thing, and it says something about a unanimous vote at some point.
Okay.
And to me, that was the most the most unrealistic part of this whole...
Oh, in the 80s they used to be able to do that.
I'm just saying that, if we're talking about things not aging well, the idea of a unanimous vote is the most unrealistic part of this story.
That I'm not gonna lie, that is fair. Yeah, a nice little 2-page article. And I don't know, and this is something that I looked into a little and I couldn't find out, if this whole tragedy and the what happened, if this is actually from a different comic and they moved it over here, or if this is just part of this comic that they just made some backstory to kind of talk about what happened after the comic ended, or after the cartoon ended.
I enjoy when they put things like this in to stories, because I really like the way that this kind of fleshes out the backstory and it kind of explains parts of what's going on, and it's really good, especially for me, because I don't have any kind of
This is very helpful.
Yes.
And it's funny it's called the Ark too, because their original ship that they crashed in was called the Ark. And the Decepticons, theirs was called like the Nemesis. Like right at the beginning, you're like, well, you guys are obviously not the heroes of this story.
Nemesis is something that was very popular in the 80s and early 90s to name the bad guys.
It's a good name. Like, I'm scared.
Well, I mean, Sailor Moon, the planet is called Nemesis. Like, there's a lot of, like, tropes associated.
Yeah. And then, that's just kind of thrown in, that weird newspaper article. And then we cut back to him looking at Optimus. And basically they're saying, hey, can you wake him up? Because we've tried everything.
Can't do it.
It's almost like when someone you love's in a coma, it's like maybe if they hear a voice of someone that they remember. So, but
this whole bit was very sad.
Yeah, I really like this part because you get Oh, and by the way, Spike's dad, Sparkplug Wiki is his name.
I'm just saying, whoever named these people did a very shit job of it.
I don't blame the father, because obviously his parents named him badly, and he was just carrying on the legacy. He's having trouble breaking those bad...
Here's the thing, that this I understand.
Sparkplug! Kids like weird names.
I understand that, but for me, reading this as an adult, it kind of breaks the immersion a little bit. Because they're such ridiculous names.
It is kind of weird, and it happens a lot with G.I. Joe, too, because every G.I. Joe and Cobra has, like, a code name. So it's hard to take it seriously when, like, you're having, like, a tender moment, and, like, one of the characters' name is Snake Eyes, and the other one's Cesspool, and you're like, yeah, I can't have you guys, like, have a heart-to-heart about, like, war and what's it good for? Absolutely nothing. When like one of you is named Cesspool and one of you is named Snake Eyes.
It's just that they're comic book names.
They are absolutely comic book names.
And it would probably be cool to read it when I was 8.
Yeah.
But as an adult...
Now, I don't know if this is true on the comic book name thing, but the reason you think of that as a comic book name is because apparently Stan Lee used to have trouble remembering names, and that's why all his names are illusions. They have the same sound at the beginning of both, like Peter Parker, Otto Octavius, Reed Richards. Like, so many Marvel comic characters have names that are the same initial in both, and it was because Stan Lee had trouble remembering names. And it might be why names like this come off as comic book names. It might be the Stan Lee tradition. Because Wiki is a WW.
I don't think of Sparkplug as a name. Like, that's not something you would... What kind of fucking drugs do you have to be on to write Sparkplug?
That's his nickname, because he was a mechanic.
On some...
Because he mechanic
then use his real name!
Well, no, you use his nickname. Like, Sparkplug. Grease Monkey.
I would really
Alan Wrench.
I would really hope...
His name's Alan, actually, so that one works.
I would really hope that someone's child would not call them by a nickname that had to do with their job.
Yeah, well, I mean... again, like... But yeah, it's a common thing. Edward Nigma, Harleen Quinzel. Like, come on. You just happen to be named Harley Quinn by your parents? Yeah, okay.
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
At least Edward is a real name.
Edward is a real name. Yeah.
The Nigma is...
Nigma is a beautiful last name, I'll be honest. I wish...
Well, this is because you wish you were the Riddler.
It's better than Valentino. It doesn't... But yeah, I love this part where he's getting ready to power up Optimus, because he has this little like necklace that apparently he always wears, I guess. Yeah. Or he knew he was going to do some robot shit, so he brought it. That actually seems more likely. If the government knocks
on your door, you kind of know it's for one thing.
Yeah. It's like, I'm famous for one thing. My dad likes robot aliens. But as he's getting ready to like take this necklace off and use it to wake up Optimus, he's saying, "Prime, never thought I'd see you again. Still remember the day you left, telling me not to worry, that you'd have my dad home soon. Even gave me a piece of the Matrix. Told me you'd come back for it when the two of you returned safe and sound." Liar. So the Matrix is this thing on his neck that he can use to wake up Optimus. And that Optimus will use to wake up the rest of his crew in a future scene. Yep. The Matrix is actually one of the main plots of the old cartoon. Was like, Megatron was always trying to steal the Matrix from Optimus, and Optimus was always trying to protect it. Nah. And in the movie, Optimus gets killed trying to protect it. And I remember as a kid seeing that movie, and it actually really fucking hurting. Because I had watched Optimus Prime for years. And then to watch him up and get croaked by Megatron, it hurt my heart. And Megatron, you think he gets killed too, but he doesn't. So not only does the good guy die, the bad guy doesn't. He gets a fucking rebrand and comes back as Galvatron, and he's a total double plus asshole. Yeah, it really... I'm okay. It didn't bother me too much. I'm fine.
Oh, yeah. You seem like you've adjusted well.
Woo! But yeah, and then the general's like, "Spike, are you alright?" And he's like, "Yeah, just thinking." He's like, "About what?" And he's like, "About how the world needs Optimus Prime." Which I love, because that is not what he was thinking about. He was thinking about what a piece of shit Optimus was, and how bringing him here sort of feels like
I watched, so all of this where he has this reflection about his dad, about Sparkplug, and then, like, it made me think about his kid, and I was like, because I had already made my mind up that this dude was going to die. Corpsed. I was like, so we just repeating cycles over here, I suppose. This was, it made me sad to read that bit, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah. So then we're at an oil refinery where the robots are dropped in to, show off their power. And this is an interesting scene for Transformers enthusiasts because this is the first time you see that the Autobots and the Decepticons are both in on this action. They've both been brainwashed or whatever by Lazarus. Because you see Soundwave, great, and Grimlock and Starscream. But when it opens up, you also see Bumblebee. He's one of the good guys. So the bad guys and the good guys are all just fucking shit up.
See, for me, this was just
none of this mattered. The page is a kaboom.
I was just like, okay.
But as a child, even if you weren't interested in, like, you didn't know these robots apart, as a kid, especially as a young boy, I liked watching robots blow stuff up. So, like, I would have been into this even if I'd never met any of these guys before.
That's fair.
I'd be like, blow it up, shoot it, yeah, boom, boom, boom.
I just kind of flipped through these pages.
Which is fine, yeah.
Nothing of story importance really happens here.
It's just a show. Basically, what you're really getting is how unprepared humanity is for these robots, how they cannot handle them.
Yeah.
That's what those 4 pages are about. Yeah. A lot of murdering going on.
Yeah.
But you get to see the cat, which I really like, the robot cat.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's actually one of Soundwave's tape decks that shoots out of him. Yeah. His name's Ravage or Ravager. Anyway, something like that. So then we cut back. Cat name. Yeah, then we come back to the auction. And basically he's like, hey, let's start the bidding. Hey. And you see that this is all being filmed by Laserbeak, who is another one of the tapes of Soundwave. That's why he's the best. So useful. Like, he's got so many uses. Because he's got all these little tapes that do stuff for him. So the bidding starts. And the thing we've been fucking waiting for just all these pages finally happens.
I love how Lazarus is over here going to sell one to Russia and one to the U.S. and call it a day. Like, we don't care what you're doing with them.
No, I'm going to retire with this money.
Give me the money. Yep. Y'all go handle your problems yourself. Bye. Like, I need the bank, and then we're good.
And then Megatron says one of my favorite lines. It's the first time he talks, so he speaks up. Do you know what I hate most about humans? Nature, war, God. You think you can control it all. I don't know what's larger, your arrogance or your stupidity.
Megatron over here spitting facts.
Yeah. Stands up and fucking just like all the wires he was hooked up to, he just stands up and picks up Lazarus and yeah.
I am unbothered by all the greedy men dying.
No.
That part...
Lazarus was made to hate, and like at this point, you're almost rooting for Megatron. You're like, crush his face.
Look, it's the same thing as like when we were talking about the Corinthian and the Sandman episodes. Like, he's generally pretty shit, but also he murders some of the good. Like, he murders the right people.
There are times sometimes. You're on his side. Yeah. The Corinthian has at least 3 or 4 people. I'm like, yeah, that needed to happen.
Yeah. I feel like that with Megatron and the scene of all the rich men dying. I'm like, nothing was lost here.
We cut back to where the Ark crashed, and Optimus is there. And he's like, yeah, I gotta wake up my homies. So he pulls out his Matrix leadership out of his chest, and it calls all of the Autobots who have been offline. Mm-hmm. Wakes them up. They all break out and start coming to the surface. Like I said, Matrix leadership, a big deal if you're into the lore. And you see a really big one come out. And just a quick explanation of the big guys. Mm-hmm. They are called combiners. And they were really cool because you had 5 little robots and they could hook together to form one big robot. Kind of like, I don't know.
Mighty Morphin Power Rangers?
Yes, or Voltron or for another 80s reference. But yeah. And
for all of us not ancient.
Yeah, for you youngins, the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers is a good example. Yes. Also some of the Gundams. But
Aww.
Yeah, but Superion is much bigger than the other robots because he's 5 of them smushed together into one super robot. I also like this because Optimus is like, man, they fucked this area up. They're now at the oil refinery. Once again, a lot of movement in this comic. Which I like because through the first half of the comic, not a lot happens. But because I have a very small brain, this location jumping made me feel it was happening at a very fast pace. I was fooled into thinking there was a frantic pace just because of how quickly we would change locations. And that's a common writing trick, and it works on me.
I was honestly, at a certain point, I kind of stopped paying attention to where they were. There's ice and snow here. I guess we're at some of the cold places. I get bored easily.
Yeah.
And so I start, like I said, like with all the fighting, I just kind of skipped over some of the... So yeah, I didn't realize for a minute where they had gone to.
Yeah. And this is where Spike and Optimus have their... Well, I say heart-to-heart, but it's really just Spike yelling at Optimus. Says, seems familiar? It should. It happened 100 times before. You've just been too busy to notice. See, you and your Autobot soldiers, you're all about the fight, the big war. And for a long time, I was right there with you, 100%. But you know what? There's only so many times you can see this and not get angry. Wherever you Transformers go, your war seems to follow. And whatever your war goes, our people suffer. Human people. People that can't get reactivated like you. Like, it's very easy to have a war if, like, when you get shot, you can get reborn half the time. Like, there's a 80% chance they can rebuild you. Like, I would be much more likely to get shot for something I believed in that situation. But yeah, and Optimus is kind of like, damn, harsh. And then the general comes up and tries to make it better.
And he does not. Fuck that general for real, though. And honestly, I'm going to give Prime points here for actually being able to listen.
Yeah.
Like, Spike may not be being completely fair because it's not really Prime's fault.
Yeah. I think he's just upset.
But yes, and Prime is able to be like, yeah, okay, that's a fair point. And I'm going to give him props for that.
Optimus is a great leader. And, like, if you live in a world where war has to happen, he's the kind of guy you want because he's compassionate. And, like, you get it very clearly here, the contrast between him and the general.
Yeah.
Like, where the general's like, yeah, sacrificing a few for the many. Like, which is a great foreshadowing to the choice the general tries to make later on.
Yeah.
But he's like, yeah, they don't understand. You know, the whole omelet, you can't break an omelet, make an omelet without breaking a few eggs analogy.
Yeah.
And Optimus is like, wait, you think our battle against the Decepticons has been about power? And he's like, yeah, what else? What else?
General is not a man with a big brain.
No. And he's like, what else could it possibly be? And then I love it. He fucking the general gets a call about where the Decepticons are attacking, or where the Transformers, because it's Autobots and Decepticons. And Optimus yanks him up by his jacket. So this is like a 4-story tall climb here. And he yells, where?
Yeah.
So he's hot. Where is it? And he tells him, and then you get a very funny thing about the guy getting deaf, which I find very funny.
Yes.
And this is the only real time you get introduced to the Autobots that are with him. So he's like, Jazz, count me in. Mirage, I'm with you. Sunstreaker, Sideswiper. They're twin brothers. We're in. Wheeljack, Trailbreaker, like Superion. All of this is relevant if, again, you're a fucking Transformer. If you're into G1, it's nice to get a roll call so you know who's here, because a lot of people aren't. Like, where's Beachcomber? I like Beachcomber. It's good to know.
What kind of drugs were these people on when they named?
I wonder how many of them are just trying to come up with cool names, and how many of them were bad translations of Japanese names. So,
you know what? That's a fair
probably
point.
A little of both.
Yeah.
But like Megatron sounds pretty much like a very American, 80s bad guy name. And we get another shot of Megatron teasing Lazarus, which I'm here for all these. Megatron's speeches, I'm probably going to read all of them. I love them. The evolution of warfare. Isn't that what you called it? You took all my strength. It took all my strength to keep from laughing. What the hell does your kind know about evolution? You pathetic bags of flesh, wandering around this tiny rock, thinking you're in control, waiting for the next ice age to wipe you out. It's going to be a pleasure speeding up the process. Yeah, that made me very happy. And then he comes in to talk to his jets. And Starscream, Thundercracker, Skywarp.
We need one of those name generators to just spit out robot names for these things.
Yeah. Just so you know, your big question, you're going to need to come up with one of these names. So go ahead and start thinking.
I hate that.
Yeah, I thought you might. Yeah, so Skywarp was always my favorite because he's purple. He's the one at the back there. And also he had a very cool ability. So every Transformer has like a special ability that makes them better than the other Transformers. And Skywarp's was that he could actually warp short distances. So you'd get in a dogfight, and then all of a sudden he'd be behind you. Like, I just thought that was super, super cool. And he's purple.
If these had been real people, this panel right here with the head hanging out by the little bits, that would have been really gruesome.
Well, for people that know Bumblebee, because Bumblebee was the cute Transformer, he was the one that was too little, but he always had a lot of pluck, and he always wanted to be. So seeing his head rolling along, like, if you watch that cartoon in the 80s, was like, oh my god, they beheaded Bumblebee, son of a bitch. Yeah. And you see other robots here, you're like, damn, they sure fucked up a lot of dudes here. And there's a hilariously funny scene here because it is so cartoonishly bad. It's like, Starscream, what's Megatron's plan this time? And Starscream's like, who cares? You just know it's going to be evil. And evil's always fun. Like you said, no shades of gray here.
Nah.
Like, you got your good guys.
There's definitely no nuance happening.
Yes. Something I should mention here is that in the cartoon, Starscream was always trying to take over leadership from Megatron. He was very shady. He would always try and like undermine him in front of the boys and like backstab him when he could. So I guess at this point he's kind of given that up. He's like, I'm just going to follow the boss man. He's obviously got the best plans. I tried to take over 100 times and failed, so I'm just going to sit back and relax.
I'll enjoy this round. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, exactly. It's evil. It's fun. So I also think this is neat that he's using the power from the Autobots that he's captured and the humans to power this weird metal virus.
This this particular part made me think of the X-Men movie where Magneto tries to turn the humans into mutants, and you get that.
Oh yeah, dude. You made the water dude.
Yeah. I got X-Men vibes from this particular panel.
I didn't think of that, but yes, that makes perfect sense. I like this too because their home planet is all metal. It's a place called Cybertron, and so I like the idea that they're just like, we're never getting off this rock, so let's just turn into Cybertron. Why the hell not?
Seems like the shortest distance between A and B. At least that plan makes sense to me. Like, that is something that I can logically be like, okay, if you're accepting the reality that you're fucking stuck here, and the thing you hate the most
make it like home
is that it's a bunch of bags of flesh running around getting in your way. Yeah.
Let's metal it up.
This at least is something that I'm like, okay.
Yeah, I just want to make it home.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I find no flaw. Megatron, you're the good guy here. I've decided. Then we get our only other transforming scene, like our only real strong transforming scene, and it's all the cars driving up in the snow and then turning into Transformers, which, again, for a nerd comic stand, I was super into. But
that actually, I did think that was cool. I will give you that.
All right, thank you. And then Megatron shows up, which I was a little surprised at. And he's yakking at him, and he's like, hey, come on. I always liked you, Optimus. Why are we fighting?
I had a question about this.
Yeah.
Because he says, heaven help us.
Yeah.
And then they start talking about God.
The heavens help us, yeah.
Do the Autobots have gods?
They have,
Who are the robot gods?
The creators. The people who created them to begin with. Deep in the center of Cybertron, supposedly, there is a lab where all of them were created. and the god is supposed to dwell there. Now, different comics have handled that in different ways. Like, there's either no one there, or it's a robot intelligence. They also have other minor gods. There's an entire planet that can turn into a transformer named Unicron, and he's basically a god, kind of like Galactus in the Marvel comics. Like, he's practically a god. So, yeah, and a lot of people worshipped him as like a god of destruction, because he'd just go and eat planets. Like, that was his whole big robot that ate planets.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. So they sort of do, yeah.
I was just thrown off because, like, they start talking about heaven and gods, and I'm like, are they religious? I'm confused. Do the robots have a god? And I don't have any reference for that, so I was wondering.
Yeah. Yeah, Optimus shoots it, and that reveals that it actually just powers it up. Like, the more you put energy into it, the stronger it gets.
Yeah.
So, and now it's growing. And he tosses him the little... So all of them have little chest piece that either shows that they're Autobots or Decepticons.
Which don't look very different from one another.
Red and purple is really all you need to remember. That's the easiest way to tell them apart. And Megatron throws one down, and he's like, hey, some of your boys have joined up with my side. And Grimlock, who talks like a caveman, to the best of my understanding, because there's a glitch in his programming, he also turns into a T-Rex. So he also turns into one of the dumbest dinosaurs. So it's sort of tricksy.
I don't like the baby talk bit.
Yeah.
I was very glad that he didn't speak a lot.
Yeah, it is. I never liked it either, because it took him much longer to say what he wanted to say. And I was like, in the cartoon, I'd be like, hey, give up. Like, let's move on. But Grimlock was sort of Optimus Prime's Starscream, because he was often trying to take over leadership of the Autobots. He was like, look, Optimus, you're too nice. This is war. You need someone who's just strong. And that's me. I'm the strongest. So it was kind of neat to have Grimlock join up with Megatron here, but it wasn't like a huge surprise, because Grimlock usually doesn't. They're not ever seeing eye to eye anyway.
Yeah.
Then they have a very brief fight on this very fragile rock, and they all end up falling into the crevasse. And you get some more robot fighting. And I love how Megatron takes his So they see a bomb dropping from the humans, who are like, this is our chance to get rid of all the robots, because they're all fucking trouble.
Nothing good's come from this.
Yeah, and Megatron's like, Prime, look, I told you they're scum, you're full, Prime, a fool. And those were his what he thought would be his last words. And I like that he spent his last, 4 seconds on Earth.
He's got a fucking message,
telling him I was right. I was right.
He's got a fucking message, and he's gonna get it out.
Yes. And so, the bomb, of course, made the metal thing stronger.
I love that the general panics and no one can ever know that any of this happened.
Yeah.
Gotta get rid of everything.
Yeah, erase the evidence, please. Thank you.
Yeah.
And the thing absorbed the brunt of the explosion, which is why they're still alive, because the virus actually sucked up most of the explosion. But it was kind of neat, because it formed a big, shell, and they were all kind of stuck on the shell, which I thought visually was a very cool look.
No, I like the
visuals of these very brightly colored robots, glued onto this gray ashen shell. Yeah. Meanwhile, there's they all break out, and Megatron and the Decepticons, of course, fucking left. Surprise.
Yeah.
And then you see a sub blow up, and you don't know why. They're like, hey, something's coming. It's big. And then we cut away from that. More sub information later.
This is another tease.
Yes. A lot of teases. And they find all their boys. Some of them are in pieces, and some of them have been hooked up to this machine. And I like this. One of them is awake enough to say, Megatron told me to give you a message. He's got one last surprise for you. It's really bad, Prime. You better hurry. And also there's another part here where you see Lazarus, he's fucking dead.
Yeah.
And the robots are low on energy, but they can just be recharged. So it's another comparison of how the difference between human casualties in this war versus robot casualties, which don't mean anything, really.
Yeah.
And then this is the reveal of Devastator, who is...
You and your green and purple villains.
The most... Yeah, right? He is the most famous of the combiners. He was the first one that was ever made. And he's actually 6 construction vehicles, like a backhoe, and you can see, like, parts of it on him. And he was my... he was my favorite, because...
This is my surprise space.
Number 1, he was formed by 6 robots instead of 5, so he was even fucking bulkier than, like, Superion. Yeah. And number 2, the 6 robots that made him all had such unique, distinct personalities. And they were so neat individually. Like, there was one named Hook, and he, of course, was, like, the big crane. And his whole gig was, like, he was like, I just want to make, like, art. Like, I just want to... But he was kind of like an arrogant, snooty guy. He was like, you guys don't understand my art. I just want to make art. And then there was one named Scavenger who would just, like, bring garbage to the others and be like, I found this, isn't it neat? So they all had these very neat little, like, the cement truck was like a mad alchemist. He would, like, mix things in his cement mixer and, like, make weird chemical compounds. He was like a witch almost.
Aww.
So they were very neat, distinct as different. And then when they would form together to form Devastator, because their personalities were all so different, they basically became very primal. Like, the only things they could all agree on were, like, walk, destroy. So they got so much dumber when they formed the big guy.
Yeah.
So it was neat to see situations where they decided, I should be the big guy, and when they should do small things as a unit. But yeah, big fan of the Constructicons, which is what they were called, because they constructed. Then we get a very funny scene of Optimus riding on Superion's back. Very cute. He looked like a little baby.
He does look like a little baby.
Yeah. But you get a nice comparison of how big Superion is.
Yeah.
And then, surprise, surprise, Megatron's going to give a speech.
He likes to hear himself talk.
Oh my god, he really does. He really does. And he's destroying a city for the sole purpose of getting Prime's attention. Because he obviously, very much like Batman the Joker, like he's like, I gotta get senpai
notice
me, senpai
notice me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I forgot about this one. We do get to see Grimlock turn into a T-Rex and eat a taxi, which I was a big fan of.
See,
and fucking Devastator taking out the Golden Gate Bridge, because, you know,
I feel like for these to be really enjoyable, I do like the T-Rex, but I feel like for this to be really enjoyable, you have to know who the characters are. And at this point, I'd done forgotten who this was.
Yeah.
So I was like, again, T-Rex, cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was...
As a child and as an adult, I needed much less, like... I didn't need to know the motivation. That dude just turned into a T-Rex and ate a taxi. That's all the information needed, all required.
Hey.
Then we get I love the way this shot
I did like that,
shown, where there's a guy and his wife, like, clutching their baby on the roof of a building, and you see Devastator, like, reach up a fist. He's just gonna drop it on him. And then you see a hand from off panel grab it, and it's Superion. So it's the big guy versus the big guy, which, again,
it's better.
I will love to watch two big good dudes fight. Like, I'm here for it.
As someone who enjoyed Gundam Wing, I do like watching robots wrestle.
This is it's Gundam Wing, it's the kaiju, like, it's the big monsters from Tokyo fighting each other. Like, it's all of that. Yeah. Like, watching these two tear it up in San Francisco, like, I'm here for it. I'm a sucker. I could watch this for days. And then... then you get the T-Rex taking a fucking steel beam to the face from another Autobot. Again, doesn't matter which one. And here's the scene. Like, maintain triangle formation, fire on my command. The three jets who you saw earlier are now coming in to blow up Superion. Because they're cheating. It was a fair fight, and they're coming to... But this is... Starscream, Skywarp, and Thundercracker, but you wouldn't know it because you never saw them transform.
I honestly thought that was the U.S. government.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna lie.
Exactly. Like, you can't even see... Well, I guess you can see the Decepticon symbols if you look really hard on the wing.
And if you know what the fucking symbols are, because, like, they look very similar.
Well, you would at least know they're not the government.
Yeah.
And once they shoot at Superion, you'd know whose side they're on, probably.
Yeah. If you can tell. I thought they were the government. And so, like, I honestly, because... They've been doing
you shot the wrong one.
Yeah, they've been doing such a bang up job so far. I was like, well, they just fucked that up. Like, I was not given full information.
It's fair. And then a nice scene where Optimus saves some people and they're throwing rocks at him. They're like, because like you, they can't tell them apart.
Yeah.
Like, get away from us, monsters, killers. And then the ladies, please don't hurt us. Like, yeah, because again, it would be very hard to tell them apart.
Yeah.
Especially if you're this tall. You know, you're like way smaller than them.
And if half of the robots that look the same as the other half of the robots are killing you, you may not know which ones are doing what exactly.
Yeah. And meanwhile, you get a quick cut back to where all the robots that got broken up, including Bumblebee, are getting repaired by the Wheeljack, who you don't know, but he's kind of the mad scientist of the Autobots.
Oh, okay.
He's their mad inventor. Then we see that the battle is going poorly. Devastator's got one of the Superion robots, like, in his left hand and is just shaking the shit out of him. I didn't know who that was either. Yeah, it didn't matter. You know enough to know
this is bad.
This does not mean the good guys are winning.
They got squished like bugs.
Yeah. Spike's been put in prison. And he's been locked up because he did not like the kill everyone idea of handling this approach.
Yeah.
And he's like, don't kill. And then you see all the robots that got ripped into pieces. They're back. They're back alive. Again, it matters if you care about these robots and know who they are. But the important part is that they figured out a way to fight this metal that's encroaching across the world. But to do it, they have to use their own energy and fire it into the guns that will turn it into an energy that the virus can't absorb.
Yeah.
And then you get rid of the virus.
They're basically vaccinating.
Yeah, except...
They're antivirus.
Yeah, they're vaccinating, but with their own bodies. And so... And then Optimus Prime calls. He's like, we're getting our asses kicked. We need help. And he's like, well, we can't. We're using all our energy to stop this virus from taking over the world. So, I kind of like this, where he talks about, like, what makes a soldier.
Yeah.
With Superion down, we don't stand a chance. Any soldier knows that. They've been in enough battles to know when they're outmatched. They've had enough victories to know when one is impossible. But they fight anyway for them. Even though they've seen enough death to know that it could mean their own. Retreat, surrender, these words don't compute. And you're just, while this speech is going on, you're watching Devastator just destroy the entire team.
Yeah, yeah.
And then
he
it's
is
just
living up to his name.
Yeah, he's devastating. And then it's just him and Optimus Prime. You get a cool shot of, like, Optimus, like, being towered over by Devastator. And, man, he fucking turns into a truck and drives up Devastator, punches him in the chest, pulls out his gun, and blows his head off, and it was so cool. Like, for me, it was very awesome to watch Optimus Prime single-handedly.
I thought that was a neat trick.
Yeah, it was very neat. But unfortunately, everyone's gone now except Optimus, and he's completely drained of energy. And Megatron's standing above him, and he's like, let's talk. I want to talk some more.
I need attention, Senpai.
Senpai, worship me.
Yeah. It makes me think of that quote from Jareth in The Labyrinth, where it's like, you know, just give me, do exactly what I say, and
I will be your slave.
Yeah. It's got those kind of vibes going on it.
Very much. Meanwhile, Spike gets a note that says at 3:00 you're going to get released. And the door opens, and he's like, you! And we don't get to see who it is, because that's what this comic likes doing.
It's like edging, but the ending is not satisfactory.
It was to me. It got me there. I'm a man. It's easier to get me there. So I got there 2 or 3 times while I was reading, honestly, but that's not any of your business. So the Autobots, meanwhile, the ones that are still standing, are fighting
the virus.
The virus, and they're all collapsing because they're using their energy to power these guns that they're fighting the virus with. And there's a very fun scene where one of them falls down, It's like, yeah, I just need a minute. And from off scene, a camera slowly rolls into frame and clinks him on, and like bumps him on the head.
The tank.
Tonk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The tank's rifle.
Yeah, it just kind of rolls in and clinks right into the side of his head. I laughed out loud at that scene. I thought it was very
I thought
funny.
that was enjoyable, yeah.
But yeah, that was very, very funny. So then we realized that the janitor who told Spike earlier to fucking be ready for anything, things aren't what they say, gave him all those useless warnings, was actually a man who was working on the Lazarus Project. Lazarus Project being the Army's attempt to make Transformers. And there's a very funny picture of them trying to make
that was
one.
So funny. Oh my god, that poor robot.
It just looked like garbage. It's hot garbage.
It is such a mess.
Yeah,
oh my god.
They were trying to reverse engineer what made the Transformers, and they fucking failed.
So hard. They failed hard.
Yes. Oh my god. And so this guy's whining about how he's seen a ghost, and then to protect his family, he didn't mention that the ship that Spike's dad was on had been sabotaged, because the government kind of decided if they couldn't have the Transformers, then nobody could. If they couldn't recreate them to protect themselves from Transformers, we'll just blow up the ship, problem solved. We'll never have to deal with any of them again. Spike, of course, loses his shit because, like,
Spike needs to reset his expectations.
Yeah. I mean, the guy could have stopped it.
I don't think he could have, though. I think, one, all that would have happened is this dude probably would have ended up dead, and maybe even his family would have ended up dead, depending on what the situation was. I don't... Spike sees everything too black and white for me.
Yeah.
And I understand that he's mad because his dad's dead, and I think that is a very valid reaction. His dad is dead,
and he now has a target. Like, he didn't want to hate Optimus Prime.
Yeah.
This guy, he don't give a shit about this guy. He can hate this guy.
I don't feel like, one, this dude wasn't the president or nothing. He wasn't the general who's in charge of doing, like, he didn't set the bomb up, at least not from what I read.
No,
like, he didn't actively do anything. The only thing he's really guilty of is not putting himself in harm's way.
Right. Because they killed his brother.
Yeah.
To kind of send him a message.
Yeah. And so, like, he knew he was in danger. I don't really feel like he did anything wrong.
I feel like he could have gone to the media, and I feel like an entire ship full of people. Because it wasn't just robots.
Yeah, no, they were people.
There were
too.
like, yeah,
they listed in the article.
Yeah, a bunch of like a scientist, a biologist, like different sciences
from different places.
Yeah, like some of the greatest.
I'm
people
not
in the
saying
world.
it was right, but I'm saying his reaction, how angry he is. I don't feel like it's fair.
Well, it might not be. But yeah, like if you think about just the idea was that this ship was going to go to Cybertron and come back with technology to help everyone. Like,
I don't know if maybe it's just that
we never got there. Like I wanted a teleporter. They have teleporters. I wanted a teleporter.
I
we
don't
didn't
know
get
if
one
it's
because of this guy. This janitor kept me from having a teleporter.
I feel like the fact that there was a bomb on the ship is the thing that kept you from having a teleporter, not really the janitor.
I wish he had gone to the media. We'll never know if it would have worked.
Here's the thing, maybe it's just because I am jaded and cynical in this age of information technology. I don't think it would have done any good.
It's possible. Like, in 2022, it probably wouldn't have been fake news. But in 2002, he could have gone to the media. I do like his line, though, because the janitor is just curled up into a ball crying now, and he's like, please help me, Spike. The ghost, I can't take it, no more. So obviously this guy's been torturing himself ever since as well. And I like Spike says, they're your ghosts now, better learn to live with them.
Spike,
I like it. I was there for that.
I go back and forth with Spike. He's a little bit of a bitch. Like, he gets on my nerves a little bit.
Yeah.
He's over here yelling at this other guy to live with his ghost while he's trying to find someone to scapegoat for his. Like, it's
like the people who can give you the best relationship advice are people that have ruined all their relationships because they know all the steps. Like, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this. Like, it's very... Like, the people that give you good advice often are the people that need to take that good advice also. I'm very good at giving advice to people I will not take myself. And, man, like... I like Megatron's speech here. Like, I like all his speeches. But I like this one because it also puts this war in perspective, because you have to imagine these robots don't have like lifespans. The only thing that can kill them is this war and like getting blown up and not being reconstructed. And he says, for years you and I have been at war, so long in fact I can remember nothing else. Nearly my entire existence has been about hating you. But I'll tell you, Prime, ever since we landed on this planet, things have changed. I've changed. My hatred for you has slowly been replaced by pity. When I look at you fighting so desperately to save these flesh bags, I can't help but wonder, how does such a mighty warrior become so blind? And then he basically, like, he points out all these examples of people being shitty to each other in San Francisco because, you know, this robot thing is happening and people are looting and guys are asking for help and other people are just running by. Newscasters are showing up to fucking try and get Emmys, like, et cetera, et cetera.
I liked this speech.
Yeah.
But even before you get to Prime's rebuttal,
yeah,
I was already unsatisfied with the laziness of Megatron's approach. Because yes, people suck. People always suck. But also, if you look in those same situations, you're going to have people pulling people out of the rubble, and you're going to have people, because people are complicated.
Yeah, but Optimus has to bring that up because Megatron is, well, for lack of a better word, kind of a racist.
Oh yeah,
like and
also all the flashback talk made me think of the one in Fallout, the
super mutants.
Yes,
yeah.
It made me think of the super mutants, and I'm just like, I've heard this
dirty meat sacks.
Yeah.
Yeah, but at least they could eat us. Like, Megatron gets nothing from humans. Like, they're nothing for him.
It's just
they're like fleas.
It struck me as Megatron looking at the worst people and saying that people are bad and all of this it struck me as lazy at best and convenient at worst. Like, well, it's not.
I like it because it felt exactly how racism works.
Racism
is based on lazy thinking. It is.
It is. You're right.
It is seen, you know, 4 people minding their business and one person committing a crime and being like, the person who's committing a crime represents the 4 that aren't. Like, ironically, I like the speech because of the laziness, because yes, Megatron...
Well, I just feel like up until this point, if his attacks had stayed talking about like when he's talking to like the guy trying to auction him off.
Yeah.
When he's talking to Lazarus, I feel like his point not only stuck, but it felt true. Mm-hmm. Whereas, and to me, like, I was solidly kind of on Megatron's side, because you're attacking what I feel is more of the root of the problem.
Yeah.
Whereas,
it's just humanity's short-sightedness.
Yeah. Yeah. Whereas, claiming that all people are like the worst people, and that because all people are like the worst people, all people deserve to die, is not the same argument you were making a couple of pages ago.
Which is odd, because it's about your audience, and I feel like that speech would have worked better on Optimus than the speech he went with.
Yeah.
Like, because Optimus is such a soft-hearted guy, like, if you'd come at him with, look, these people they're just too short-sighted. They are going to kill themselves anyway.
Yeah.
Like, we can't save them. We need to stop trying and save ourselves. And the only way to do that is to make this planet Cybertron. Like, that would have worked better on Optimus than it would have been the other consistent approach. Yeah.
I felt like that particular speech, I know it's set up basically so Prime can do what Prime does, and
which is exactly what you were saying.
Yeah,
like, show the other half of humanity. Yeah.
But I feel like he went from like one point, which even I'm on board with. Like, yes, people with power tend to abuse that power, so you gotta fucking no, maybe don't let them have that.
Yeah. Yep.
So, and like, to go from that to like all the way down to the like lazy scraping the bottom of the barrel. All people suck.
Yeah. Yeah.
The first argument was much better.
Megatron contains multitudes. They're all racist, but he contains multitudes. Or speciest, I guess, might be better. But yeah, then we find out that the general has decided to just bomb San Francisco, nuke it out of existence.
Why is that always the thing they jump to?
It's whenever you've got a big monster or a robot or whatever, if something's taller than a 2-story building, in fiction, doesn't matter, Americans, Japanese, it doesn't matter who's writing it. If it's more than 2 stories tall and it's attacking the city, you just gotta nuke it.
You gotta nuke it.
The city's lost. Nuke
and the president loses his
mind. Yeah, he didn't know.
The president's like, what the fuck are you doing? I didn't say do that.
Overstepped. Yeah, you have overstepped. Yeah. And then there's a funny scene with the Canadian military, because the Autobots are still trying to fight off this virus, and they've almost got it contained, but a bunch of tanks have shown up, and now it's fucking their shit up. And one of them, I think this is a case of, like, they don't realize how tall and intimidating they are, because one of them, Wheeljack, the scientist, just starts charging towards the tank with
his heart's in the right place.
Yeah, with his gun out. Now, mind you, this is his gun that won't hurt people. That's only fighting the virus. He's like, wait, you're making a mistake. We're trying to stop the virus. And they're like, they're attacking fire. So they shoot Wheeljack in his stupid face because of his stupid plan. And everything goes to shit because the Autobots, and again, this is once again showing your contrast between the Autobots and Decepticons. The Autobots are trying not to hurt these people who are blowing them away with tanks.
I feel at some point the people should have realized that, hey, we're blowing them up and they're not attacking us back. Maybe
maybe stop.
Maybe we could talk now.
Yeah, but
at any point they could have stopped and
it's
talked.
Called the fog of war. When war happens and adrenaline starts pumping, people get confused. They do dumb things. And then Wheeljack, again, the scientist, the smart one, is like, well, don't let them hit the virus or they're going to undo all that shit we did.
We've been working so hard.
And of course, one of the tanks is like, what's this virus? I'm going to go shoot it.
Oy vey.
Yeah. And I really like Optimus' speech because I like the part where he talks about how, unlike robots, we're not programmed. So, like, we've got to figure out meaning for ourselves. And it made me, probably because I'm a optimist. I'm an Optimus Prime myself. No,
optimistic.
Yeah, and I'm more of a Negatron. I'm an atheist. And so, I feel the struggle of not having a program. Like, I don't have a religion to direct me to right and wrong and, like, morality, and like that is a road I have to figure out for myself. And I don't know, when Optimus was talking about how hard it is to figure out what to do without programming, and that's why he admires the humans as opposed to like robots like him and Megatron who have a program to follow. I don't know, maybe this is pure narcissism on my part, but I was like, he's talking to me. He's talking straight to Reno.
I also think that this is an important point. Just because this is also, I feel like this is also an unfair artificial situation.
Yeah.
And, like, granted, I know it's a comic book, but it is a situation, I don't think it's fair to judge people as a whole species or, you know, whatever, based on how they react to something like this.
Yeah, a crisis.
This is not what people have to handle on a regular basis, and to take it even outside of this, and to like to make a argument about the nature of people, especially in a capitalistic kind of hellscape that we are surviving in. I don't think you should be able. It's like The Good Place.
Yeah. The
argument in The Good Place is that if you remove people from the false scarcities and the trivial bullshit we have to deal with, we will keep finding ways to be better.
Yeah.
But when you put people in a situation like this, where something that is giant and monstrous is just going around murdering people.
Yeah, where you feel like you don't have any control.
Yeah, well, and not only that, but they're randomly just murdering people.
Yeah.
This motherfucker was just going to squish people on the top of a building for no fucking reason.
Yeah, because they were people. And they were on a building.
There's no
they were in his line
justification
of sight.
for it. There's no reason for it. There's nothing that would resemble any sense of order or anything.
Yeah.
It's just random destruction.
Yeah.
I don't think you could judge people by what they do in that.
Yeah.
At least not fairly. Not unless you're also going to make them live in a heaven and then be like, okay, now what do you do?
Yeah.
If all of your needs are met and everything is taken care of and you're good, what do you do with that?
Yeah, and no one should be judged by a small amount of their life anyway, because, like, what if during the San Francisco robot attack, some fucking dude who's a serial rapist, like, saves a puppy from a fucking burning building, and a wife, and a child? Like, is he a good person, or did he have, like, a moment when he was good? Or did he rescue those people, and then once he pulled them out of the fire and the smoke wasn't in his eyes, he was like, oh, these were brown people. I hate brown people. Like, was he a racist who got tricked into it? Like, just... It's why we shouldn't generally judge anyway, because it's beyond our ken. Like, we don't know enough. If you keep putting yourself out there over and over and over and over again, like, I don't know, Donald Trump, as just a random example. Yeah, you can kind of start judging that person, but I don't think you can judge him on 5 minutes during a San Francisco robot attack. It just doesn't seem fair to me.
No.
And that goes for good or bad.
No, I entirely agree.
Yeah, which is interesting because they're showing good things, but that's not Prime's argument. His argument is that these people have no programming. They have to figure it out on their own, and I greatly respect that, and I want to see what they do with that. Like, it's not, well, sometimes people do good things. And so I like that he didn't have the cartoon speech that Megatron had. Like, his counter speech was much more nuanced.
It does add a little bit of nuance in something that's been very nuance-free for the most part.
Yeah, exactly. And then I also love that, right when he's talking about how good humans are, one of them drives a goddamn fire truck bomb. Like, so they're under, like, an overpass that's been broken by Devastator, and a fire truck just comes careening off that pass into the group of them, like, and you see a guy jumping out saying, "Look out, Optimus!" So at least some of these humans can tell the difference between the good guys and the bad guys.
Yeah,
and it buys Optimus Prime enough time to free his boys, and time for the rematch. Now everybody's now the bad guys had a truck dropped on them, and the good guys are healthy, so this one's going to go a little different. Meanwhile, Spike breaks in, and the general is like, yeah, I dropped some nukes. Is that a problem? Are you,
And here, kids, we have a panel showing the reasons for anarchy, and why no one should ever have power.
Don't give anyone... No one person should have that button.
No.
It's a bad idea.
It's a bad button.
Yeah.
Should not exist button.
Yep. So he's got a gun and he's holding it in Spike's face. Spike's trying to get to the, I guess, the abort button, although it's too late, sadly. Now he's trying not to get shot by the general as well, and the general's given very cartoonish villainy.
Yeah, we've got our evil speech of how he was really the man behind the curtain the whole time. And
and a little bad's okay for the greater good. Yada yada yada. Killing all these robots in all of San Francisco. It's fine.
Yeah.
No one else will die after that. Oh, sorry.
And who needs San Francisco?
I mean, I went there recently. I enjoyed it. I liked it. Yep. Then we cut back to Canada. And the failure. All the robots are about down. Wheeljack gets an idea. I like Jazz, known to you as one of the other robots, who's basically like, we should retreat now. We tried to save the humans and we failed. Let's get the fuck out. I don't want to die with them. I like that he's not so fucking holier than thou. He's like, no, we must sacrifice ourselves for the humans. He's like, no, we tried.
Look, we did our best.
Didn't happen this time.
These motherfuckers are just intent on dying. Let's get out of here.
That's how I would react, because eventually the tanks would be like, they fucking want this. They want extinction. I would join Megatron after this bullshit. I'd be like, where's Megatron? Because he was right. These motherfuckers.
Maybe.
I got shot in the face with a fucking tank trying to save these assholes. Wheeljack takes off running. He's got a plan. We cut back. Some nice people shoot that mean general.
Suicide by cop is boring. He got off way too easy.
He really did. It bummed me out. Probably my favorite, this is my favorite panel, is when, during the fight, it's going good for the Autobots now. They're beating Megatron, his boy's ass. Poor Soundwave's getting punched in the stomach. Sorry, Soundwave, I love you. But then Soundwave's like, Megatron, my radar indicates a nuclear projectile approaching. Contact inevitable. And Optimus is like, oh, man. And Megatron, once again, laughing. He's like spending his last minutes on Earth to laugh at Optimus.
Attention, okay?
Yeah, he got what he wanted.
Senpai's last look is going to be at Megatron.
Yeah. He's like, I wanted to prove humans suck, and now they're dropping a bomb on you. I win!
Nah. Who cares that I'm dead, too?
Yeah.
As long as I win.
That doesn't matter.
I mean, you gotta love someone fully committed to the cause, though. Like, he's ready.
Yeah. Yeah, he's brave, you could argue. Very brave. And then we get kind of a dual scene here of Superion changing, assembling, like the 5 separate pieces, that getting back together and flying up to intercept the nuke. Meanwhile, Wheeljack is using all of his energy to stop the virus. He like hooks it up to like this satellite to do one last blast to take out the virus and save the world. And he says, I hope they're worth it.
I don't know, Wheeljack. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. Patent still pending, maybe.
Yeah.
We haven't seen yet. So Superion dies and Wheeljack dies. But they save San Francisco and the world at large.
Yep.
Yeah, and then the army's like, oh, they saved us. I'll be damned. The Transformers saved. Like, feel a little guilt, you pieces of shit.
Yeah.
Like, you're the reason that it wasn't a whole lot easier.
Fog of war and all, but still,
yeah.
man.
Oh, no, yeah, still. You guys are fucking assholes. And then you get the last scene of Jazz holding Wheeljack, who is sadly dead. And people still yelling at the Autobots. Like, get the fuck out of here. And Grimlock getting an opportunity to join back up and refusing. Like, no thank you. And, this may surprise you, Megatron and the Decepticons escaped in the chaos. Probably didn't see that one coming.
There was I thought it was later, but apparently there's a part where he talks about keeping Megatron as his prisoner.
Yeah.
And I was like, Prime is kinky. He over here...
Prime does not like murdering, man. He's always... I want prisoners.
I've been reading too much dreary fan fiction. I was just... my mind went in different places.
Yeah. And then the last few pages are just a preview of Volume 2, which we're not covering in this. I did like... There's a very cool and also sad scene with a bunch of dead whales that all have, like, Autobot symbols, like, in them.
Yeah.
Like a ship exploded or something. And it's very intriguing. It made me want to, like, figure out what the fuck was going on. There's, like, another Autobot
giant
ship under the ocean.
Yeah.
And Prime's having some sort of psychic attack where he collapses in the desert. So, yeah, maybe we'll do Volume 2 sometime down the road. But that was Volume 1 of the DreamWorks 2002 Transformers series. Yeah, obviously, I was a bigger fan than you were, but I
didn't hate it. It was interesting. Like I said, I had a hard time telling the bots apart.
Yeah.
And that kind of shaved off
makes it hard. Yeah.
Some of what probably would have been felt reading it. I don't know if it's just that, like, they're all drawn so similarly.
Yeah.
And
which is funny to someone who watched the show, because, like, if I told you all the Sailor Scouts look very similar, you'd be like, how could you possibly? Like, they have different hair and different skirts.
They do have similar faces.
Right. Well, these guys also have similar faces, but I can tell them apart as easily as you could tell like, Sailor Mars and Sailor Jupiter.
Yeah, or even Sailor Mars and Sailor Venus, because they both have long hair.
Yeah. I thought Jupiter had long hair.
She's always got her hair in a ponytail.
I thought Mercury was the only one with short hair.
Well,
it's
Jupiter's hair is long, but it's always in a
okay.
ponytail.
See, again, I can't tell them apart.
Yeah, no, and I mean, that's fair. I would agree.
I will also say you would have much more to deal with, because there are probably 35 different robots in this, Whereas,
yeah, I can't.
Yeah, like, it would be crazy to ask you, like, why can't you tell them all apart? Like, that was something I was very interested in how it would work for a layman who didn't know anything about it. And, yeah, well, room for improvement on that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's just, I do the same thing when I'm reading books. Like, like I said at the start, I've been reading a lot of, like, the Grandmaster of Demonic Cultivation. And even I started Heaven Official's Blessing, and
also a mouthful.
Well, and there's a lot of characters, and then they also have multiple names because like Chinese culture has a lot of like respect. You use this because they're your brother or they're in your clan or whatever.
Honorifics on top of honorifics,
and it makes it very confusing. Yeah. So even when I really like something, it can be hard to keep the characters straight. And I liked it, but it wasn't.
Yeah.
It's not something I would pick up myself.
No, absolutely not. But that's sort of the object of the
It is. It's totally the object of this.
But yeah. All right. So, yeah. Time for the big question. And this one is a big silly question. If you were a robot who could transform into something, what would you transform into and what would your name be? Now, you can transform from anything into a 747 to a top hat. Like, whatever you want to turn into. And whatever you want your fucking name to be, it does not matter.
Oh.
Yes.
Oh, God.
Because I, much like my hero Soundwave, I would want to be a CD player. And I'd want to shoot out CDs that were like blades. And could just like cut off robot arms with them. And be like blasting.
What's your name?
I don't... let me think. What would be a good name for
a
CD player that shoots music? Like Sound Blaster. Sound Blaster's a good Transformer name.
It is.
There's probably already a Transformer named Sound Blaster.
See, I want to go with something like Cosmos Splitter, just to be Cosmos
Splitter. That's nice.
I'm pulling from Sailor Cosmos from Sailor Moon.
That's
I'm
fair.
Staying true to my roots.
Cosmos Splitter. Nice.
And as far as what I transform into, see, I was thinking about the name while you were talking some of the time, so I got that. Yeah. You didn't tell me the second part of the question.
Well, obviously, some of it's got to be. I purposely didn't think about it till just now, so that it would also surprise me a bit. That's why I don't have a name yet for myself.
Cosmos Splitter, and I'd want to be something really innocuous that most people wouldn't mess with. Something like a rock. Something that like...
Well, here's what you are. You're Cosmos Splitter, so you're a meteor. You can fly through space and actually bust open cosmoses if necessary.
See, the cosmos, though, is all of existence.
You're a big rock.
That would be a giant rock. I don't.
You don't want to be something.
I want to be something.
You want to be a petite rock?
Yeah, I want to be something. I want to be something that most people would step over because my goal in life is to be as invisible as humanly possible.
You're going to be a spy then. You're going to be a spy for the Autobots.
That's fine too.
They can just roll you into a place.
I want to be a marble. Yeah. I want to be sort of like in the first Men in Black movie where everything, like the cosmos was on the cat's neck.
Yeah.
Something like that.
The belt of Orion.
Yes.
The neck of
Orion's belt.
Yeah.
I want to be, because one of my favorite things in any kind of fiction is when like the little tiny thing is the key. Like I love that shit. I would like to
You would be a little tiny key. Or spy.
That would be perfect, actually. Yeah. A little tiny key. Yeah. There you go. Cosmos Splitter, a little tiny key.
All right. I'm going to be Sound Slicer. And I'm going to be a fucking CD player that can shoot out, like, razor-sharp laser disc. And then when I turn into a robot, I'm going to kind of look like a ninja. Sound Slicer! Swing! Maybe I'll have a katana.
As Cosmos Splitter, I would be the thing that destroyed the universe. I would like,
Yeah, but no one would know it. You'd be like Bumblebee for, like, the first 3/4 of the comic. They'd be like, that's a little cute person that
exactly.
They got a little
That's the whole point.
Yeah. And I would be the edgelord guy, like the Vegeta of the group.
Oh, just God, Vegeta!
Always a total fucking, like, I don't get along with anybody. I'm the best. I'm a loner. I'm a lone wolf, but I'm always teamed up with people.
Yeah.
like Wolverine in the Marvel comics. We talked about this a little earlier before we started recording. Yeah, Wolverine is like, prides himself on being a loner. Batman prides himself on being a loner. They both have huge groups that they're always running around with.
Batman has a fucking bat family.
He has a bat family. And fucking Wolverine never gets to adventure by himself. It's like he's always got somebody on his back.
See, I go for cute but deadly. Mm-hmm. So that is a little... And actually, I like little keys. Like, I used to collect little keys for things.
Where do you find little keys?
You can buy them at like Michael's. They don't actually open anything, but I just like the aesthetic.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would like a little key if it opens something. I have one key that opens a chest that I'm very fond of, but I don't know. I don't think I'd like a little key that is just a little key. I'd have to open something. You would be a little key that for most of the show, people didn't think opened anything, and then surprise, it opens the key to the weapon that destroys the universe.
Yeah.
All right. I'm there for it.
I like it.
Well, thank you for humoring me and reading Transformers Gen 1 Volume 1. And thanks to people at Hasbro and DreamWorks for making it exist, because you influenced
I'm glad
a lot
that
of my
you
childhood.
enjoyed this.
Yes. So, what are we going to dissect next week? And will I also enjoy it? All right,
and I don't know if you'll enjoy it, but I will enjoy it enough for the both of us.
Yeah.
This is our first gentle foray into some boy love.
Boy love, and
manhwa.
Also just online thing, correct? Like Volume 1 hasn't come out yet.
So there's a as far as Semantic Error goes,
yes,
I started reading it on the Manta app, but there is a Kindle version. Mm-hmm. And they are supposed to be releasing physical volumes in English some point soon. Not exactly sure when that will happen. Okay. But
so if you want to follow along,
there are plenty of places.
There are ways to do it.
You can also just Google Semantic Error and you may find some sites that may have some stuff.
Not that we support that.
Or don't support it. We don't not support it. Anyways.
I both support stealing and paying artists for their work. So I don't know where I fall on this.
Here's the thing. Yeah. As someone who also supports whatever avenue you need to go to get your entertainment, I have bought the Kindle editions. I pay for Manta to read it, and I will buy them the moment I can get my hands on the book. So I do support the authors when I can. Okay.
Yeah, that's.
But
fine.
Also, Manta takes a while to update, and I really wanted to see them have sex. So I may have found a website that would allow that to happen. At any rate, we're doing Semantic Error next time, and I am excited because it is my favoriteest thing. I have a tattoo of this fucking manhwa.
Yeah, I'm going to learn about boy love, which, you know, with the exception of my crush on David Tennant, I don't know anything about. So.
Well, Semantic Error, I feel like, is a good... This is going to turn into a Semantic Error
I believe it's
episode.
called a gateway drug, is the term you're looking for.
Here's the thing. I think it's a good first step into it because they're not abusive and it's not super graphic at any point. It is a very wholesome first boy love for you to...
to love as a boy.
for you to dip your toes in.
All right.
And I will love it. I'm ready.
Yeah, I can tell.
I'm excited. Look, I love this shit.
You perked up as soon as we started talking about it.
I could talk. I've already started researching. Nice. I'm ready to go.
All right. Well, until next time, everybody, I don't know, take care of yourself. Take care of each other. We gotta
do good in the world.
We do good in the world. Do more good than evil. We got a Twitch stream Sundays at 9 EST time. There'll be links to that and underneath. Also links to
Twitter.
All of the Twitters and Twitches and Instagrams and Facebooks. And also link to the comic that we just did and the one we're getting ready to do so that you know where we are and where we're going.
Yep.
Until then, peace out, homies.
Bye-bye.